Hi, it's Alison from Blue Cat Sewing. Today I'm going to show you how to make this small ID wallet. I do the vertical version and the horizontal version, both on the same pattern. I'm going to run you through how to make them. You can fit cards, money, lip balm, a few essentials. Just clip it to your lanyard and you're good to go. I'll pop the link just here so that you can download the pattern, but here's the tutorial to take you through it. First thing to do is to fuse the interfacing to the wrong side of the three main fabric pieces, and then take one of them and draw the rectangle onto the interfaced side of it. Then fold it in half and then cut right into each of the four corners. Once you've done that, trim away some of the centre so that you're left with about 1 centimetre seam allowance all the way round. Then fold back these turnings and press them down. This is forming your window. I just use the tip of my iron to do this because I don't like to let the iron linger on the interfacing. I always think it's going to stick to the iron, but it definitely would if you're on the sticky side of the interfacing. Pin the clear PVC to the back of the window, being really careful not to put any pinholes into the centre of the window. And then sew all the way around, making sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end. I've placed my pins at right angles here, so in theory I could sew all the way over them and it would be okay, but it depends how brave I'm feeling. I'm just taking them out at the moment because I have been known to bend a pin or break a needle. Carefully trim away some of the clear PVC so that you're left with about 1 centimetre all the way round. Then the left-hand side, which is the narrowest side, we need to zigzag along that edge, and then turn it over, catching in the clear PVC that you've trimmed down, and stitch with a straight stitch to hold it down. Place this window piece that you've made on top of one of the remaining main pieces, lining up the raw edges on the right hand side, and then pin all the way around. Being careful again to make sure that the pins don't go into the main part of the window. You'll see that the back part sticks out further than the window part, which is how we want it. That's where your seam is going to go, and you've got room to put your card in there. Then starting at that opening, sew all the way around these three sides, removing your pins as you go like I've done, and don't forget your back stitch at beginning and end so that you've got secure stitches. Now we need to trim away some of this bulk, so you're just going through one layer of fabric. Trim down all three sides, but don't forget to start at the point indicated on the sewing instructions. Save these bits that you're trimming away because they'll come in really handy when we make the loop. And now we're on to the zip. My zip here is far too long, but it's just what I had in. It's going to get trimmed away in the end anyway. So making sure that the opening for your window is on the left-hand side, place the zip right side down on the top edge of your front piece. And then take one of the lining pieces, place that on top of the zip and pin through all of these layers. Now this is where you need your zip foot or zipper foot. This is what mine looks like. Yours might look slightly different. You need this because otherwise you're never going to get your stitches right up close to the zip teeth. And stitch through all of these layers, removing your pins as you go. I've done this a million times, so I don't bother with tacking or basting, but you might find it a lot easier to do that. The lining has a tendency to want to move and pucker, so I've developed a little trick with a pin to just ease the fabric into place. If you've tacked this down already, then you'll be fine. You won't need to do this with the pin. Then open out the fabrics and press down the lining to get a nice edge. Be really careful not to get anywhere near the clear PVC when you're doing this. And then flip it over and press again. Just use the tip of the iron so you don't get near to the PVC. Then find those bits that you trimmed away before and peel away the interfacing. Then cut down a strip of this and this will reinforce your loop. Take the loop and fold it in half lengthwise and then press. and place the interface piece right up against the crease. And then you basically fold in the raw edges into the centre, in and then in until they're all enclosed, and press. Then stitch down that open edge to hold it all in place. Now here I'm going to show you how to do a horizontal ID holder. So you'll need to mark the centre of the remaining lining piece, as this is going to be a guide to where you'll place the loop. Lay the zip along the top edge of the lining piece. And then I got a bit carried away here and tried to put my loop down and hold it in place, but it didn't really work, it kept moving. So it's really best if you can put the remaining main fabric piece down first and hold it with a pin, and then put your loop in once you've got the pin in place. I wrote that on the instructions, but then completely forgot when I was doing this. It just goes to show I need to follow the instructions as well. So make sure all of these edges are lined up at the top, and I place a pin right next to the loop, but not into the loop because it's too bulky. But having a pin next to it just seems to hold it in place. There, you can see it's in the right place now. It's not got a pin in it, but just next to it. Make sure you've got your zipper foot back on, and then stitch along this seam, removing your pins as you go. This is a lot easier to sew along because interfaced fabric is very sturdy. But of course, if you want to tack this first, that's probably a good idea. And there's your loop. I will show you how to make the vertical one, so make sure that you keep following this video all the way to the end. Press these seams as you did before on one side, and then flip it over and press again. Now close your zip about halfway just before the loop, and then fold it so that your right sides of the lining are together and the right sides of the main fabric are together. I start off by pinning at the lining point. These pins that I'm putting there are where we will start stitching. Then we need to get the tapes of the zip going in the right direction. So you'll see here that I've got my zip tape lying flat, and my lining fabric is going up and the main fabric is tucked underneath it. So make sure that all of the turnings are going in the same direction on this side, and then when you flip it over on the other side. You'll see that the zip at this end gets kind of scrunched up, and it does get a little bit bulky, but it works out in the end. Line up all the other raw edges and place some pins in to keep them together, being really careful not to get a pin into the window. You may find that it's not lying quite flat like mine is there, so you'll have to adjust pins and just keep moving things around until you've got it all flat. Just check all over, front and back, to make sure that everything's lined up, that your turnings are going in the right way, and then we're going to start sewing. So we start at that pin on the lining and just remove the pins as you go. It's bulky when you get to the zip, so just slow down, make sure your turnings are going as they should be in the right direction, and be really careful at this point here that you don't go too far into the window is, because you need to be able to get your card into that opening. I've done this lots of times, so I'm just doing it by eye, but you could draw a line here to sew along, which you may find helpful. The lining at this point on mine looks a little bit longer than the main fabric. I think it's just stretched slightly, but it's fine. That's it, and then stop, back stitch, and we're nearly there. So check all over again, make sure that you've not gone into that stitch line where the window is, and that all your turnings go the same way. And then trim the corners, and we're going to trim a little bit off all the way around. You don't need to trim too much, and I don't tend to trim much away where the zip is, because there was a time when I opened my zip when I was using the ID holder, and the zip came right off the zip tape at the end because I trimmed too much of it away. And this is the exciting bit where we turn it all the way through the gap. You need to get it past where the zip is, and so in order to make the space bigger, just push your fingers in and try and open the zip a little bit more. And then pull out as much as you can with your fingers and get your fingers right into the corners to pull and push everything through. Once you've got it looking as straight as you can, then we're going to use a tool to get right into the corners and get a nice clean edge. Now I've got these scissors that are very, very blunt, and I never use them for cutting, but they're ideal for getting into corners. I've got a screwdriver as well, because somebody told me that I shouldn't be using scissors. But to be honest, I think this screwdriver is sharper than the scissors, so I don't really like using it. You can get tools that are specific for this purpose, so maybe you've got one of those. And then press it on the wrong side. You don't want to ruin your hard work by damaging the clear PVC, which would melt. And then we need to close the gap. So press the turnings once you've got them inside, hold it with a pin, and then just stitch across with your machine. And all we need to do is put a split key ring into the loop, and we're done. Keep following along with the video if you want to learn how to do the vertical version. But otherwise, don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Right, on to doing the vertical version. So for this one, the loop goes in a different place. It goes near the opening of the window. Stitch quite close to the raw edge so that when we join everything together at the end, the stitch line will get enclosed in the seam allowance and you won't see it. Then place your zip on top of the final lining piece and place the remaining main fabric piece on top. This is all basically the same as when we did the horizontal version in the orange fabric. So pin all the way along and sew this down with your zipper foot. Then once you've done all the pressing, as you did before, close your zip halfway and put your right sides of your lining together and the right sides of your main fabric together and stitch as we did before. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed making your small ID wallet. Don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Happy sewing!